Okay, so welcome back to another episode of Finding Your Way with Lori and Tonya. We are super excited you found us. Listen, if you're a first-time listener, we wholeheartedly believe that you do not come across things by accident. There are no coincidences. You are here for a reason. There is something in today's show for you. And if you're a return listener, we so appreciate you. We hope that you continue to listen, that you share, like, subscribe. If you hear something today that you think resonates with somebody else, please share this podcast. That is the sole reason that we are doing this. So today's topic is actually permission granted. I don't know that we don't talk about this very often. You may see it if you read our bios about our podcast, but we are co-authors of a book called Permission Granted. And it's one of those things we don't talk about near enough, but it is so profound. Not the book itself. Now, the book itself is amazing. 20 women came together and shared a chapter, a story of their one small chapter of their life in this amazing book. And it's everybody's story is so different, but it all boiled down to giving themselves permission. And so that's really where we want to start today.
Yeah. And if you're asked the question, what are you giving yourself permission to do, or what are you not giving yourself permission to do? I bet you can come up with all kind of examples of how we do this in our life. Yes, the chapter in the book, I talk about working with the medical system, having a health issue, and knowing what they were prescribing to me was not right for my body and not speaking up, but I didn't feel like I had permission to go against my doctors a little bit. And that's huge. Like it's life changing. It was life changing when I finally said enough is enough. This is not right for my body. Right. And gave myself permission to speak up for what I knew was right for me. But I think that's just sort of a big example, but there were so many little examples in my life. I used to be notorious for asking everybody's opinion about everything, little stuff that I didn't need anybody else's opinion. I knew what I wanted. I knew what was right for me, but it was almost like validation seeking, or seeking that permission, approval from other people versus making a decision myself. And I really don't do that anymore, like not near to the degree I used to. So that's really what it's about. It's like questioning yourself. Like we're putting it out there, sharing with you how we have now given ourselves permission to do things, but it wasn't always that way. Like we weren't always like this. Yeah.
No. And my chapter in the book talks about permission to listen to that inner voice. Because I heard it at one point and then it went away but listening to it over the years, but just like Lori, I think that I, for years and years, was awful about, and I didn't realize until I stopped doing it, how often I did it, but asking for people's opinion about everything, and including big things. So when I decided, okay, this marriage is probably over, right? And so I was almost seeking everybody's approval to finally be done. I mean, it was a 20-year married relationship. So I think that I sought everybody's approval, everybody's permission. Is it okay that I divorce? Is it okay that I end this? Is it okay? Not just my children, not just my family, not just his family, my peer group, my family group, my work friends. Like, I feel like I talked about it so much because I needed people to say it was okay. Mm-hmm. They were not living my life. They were not getting up and going to bed like I was every single day, living in the headspace, living in the energy of the house that I was living in. And so I didn't need anybody's approval to decide whether I had permission to live a better life. And I think that for me was a big one, where I realized I was seeking everybody's approval and permission to do something that I just needed to do for me, whether they liked it or not. And when I finally did it, I think for me, it was such a relief. And not too long after that, like our life started snowballing into this place of positivity, and the work was paying off. And I realized that I had been stuck because of that relationship so long. And so when I finally gave myself permission, it was like I gave myself permission to live a better life and to be happy. And it doesn't have anything to do with him. I mean, he's a nice man, but it just had everything to do with me. And so I think that too often we look around for somebody to tell us it's okay, and they give us their permission, and we don't need it.
That's right. I know for me, workaholic, had a model of that, and a dad. He just worked all the time, and me thinking that was the expectation. I was just going to work, and to the detriment of my health, of my relationships, of my inner peace. And almost when I realized I was doing that, and realized how much I was seeking validation through doing that, seeking validation of my supervisors, of my leaders at my company, of my employees, that kind of thing. When I realized what I was doing and turned it around and started setting boundaries, and now have lived a few years now where I do have boundaries, and I value taking off time just as much as I do work time, right? And communicate that to my supervisors, communicate that to my employees. When I gave myself permission to switch that and do, people, I feel like people respect you a little bit more too. Like, it's not always like, I don't feel like I really got what I was seeking by trying to overwork myself to death to seek validation. I didn't ever get the validation, right? I didn't ever get the permission that I was seeking.
And you're a lot happier now.
Like, and a lot happier, that inner peace. Yep, that inner peace. My health is better. My relationships are better, because when you put all of your energy into one thing, you don't have energy for anything else. And that's where I was. And I find myself, that's an example of work, but even being codependent in relationships. And part of that codependency being seeking approval from others. And I know it's probably stemmed from childhood, something or other. Most likely a therapist would tell me, yes, that this is coming from somewhere in your childhood. But, I think when you start doing this work and get more aware of yourself and sort of seek your own answers internally, you start recognizing where you're doing that, and seeking validation, asking for permission to do things that you don't need anybody's permission to do. If you know what's right for you, do that. Not to where it hurts other people, but if it's something that's right for you, you don't have to have permission from somebody else to seek that.
Well, and I'll tell you, for me, another example is financials. I came from a very, very poor upbringing, and never had money. And even until recently, all the money I was making was going out to all the bills I owed, and busy children, and the lifestyle that, and so now that I'm a little bit more financially stable, I sometimes feel like if I want to go buy myself a nice purse, or if I want to go on a trip, or if I want to go spend my money, however, I used to be a little more cautious about how I spent it and how everybody viewed me, like almost like, do I have permission to spend my money? Do I have permission to buy this? And now I've really kind of said, screw it. Yeah. Like, if I want to buy a nice purse, I'm going to buy it, and I'm not going to make an excuse about it. I'm not going to tell somebody it came from the thrift store when it didn't. But I found myself trying to make other people comfortable by not standing in my truth, right? And I gave myself permission to spend the money the way I want to, and the way I feel like I want to spend it, and not be worried about everybody else's opinion of it. And for me, that was kind of a hard one, because I still have family that go, gosh, how can you afford that? Or how do you do this? Or how do you pay for that? And it's because I work really hard, right. And I give myself permission to spend my money however I want to. And that's just been a recent, for me. I mean, I was having purchases and not discussing, where I may have gone, because I was worried about other people's opinion about it.
Yeah. I mean, so in that case, it's not really seeking validation, it's almost not wanting judgment.
Yes.
Thinking that others would judge the choices that we make. And,
Right.
you know, you get to a point in life where if you can get there, if you can get to consistently not worrying about what other people think, there's so much peace in that. Again, not to the detriment of others, not to where you're hurting others by your actions, but, you know, doing things that feel right for you, that doesn't hurt anybody, and it's for your best good. You know, if you can get to that place where I'm not there yet, but if you can get
there,
that
I think
place,
we're closer.
yeah, we
we're
are
both closer than
absolutely
we've ever
closer.
been.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I find myself, I'm amazed by how many people I would ask for their opinion, their support, what do you think about this? And what do you know, wanting people's opinion when I already knew the answer. Like,
Right.
I can't believe I wasted so much time in my life doing that. And I feel like it gave my power away a little bit, right? I gave my power away because by doing that, people view you as being very indecisive and not, whereas I thought they were viewing me as, oh, I'm being very inclusive and asking them for their opinions and, you know, valuing them. Yeah, they matter. But sometimes people see it differently than that. It's like, God, can she not make a decision on her own? Like, why does she keep asking me for this menial stuff?
And in the grand scheme of things, if we took a step back and got really quiet, we know the answer, right? I know the answer to how I spend my money. I know the answer to should I have gotten that divorce. I know the answer to how I treat this relationship, right? So I don't need somebody's permission to do the things that I know are good for me, that I know feel right in my heart, feel right in with my instincts, in my gut. I don't need anybody else's permission. And I think as women, especially, we do look to each other and to our significant others for permission to do things that we don't need permission to do. And I think that's the key, is we don't need anybody else's permission. It's all here for us. God, universe, whatever your language is, has given us the opportunity and the rights, because we are in essence making every decision you make is the right decision.
Yeah, that's that. So Ayanla Van Zant is one of the chapters in the book, and we were on a call with her, and she told this story about, you know, we are all pre-approved. Like when we come to earth, when we're born, we don't have to seek approval. We wouldn't be here if we weren't approved to be here, right? And so her story was really profound and had a big impact on me. I think about it a lot. Like, you know, we don't need other people's approval.
We don't have to earn our spot.
Right. We don't have to earn. We are worthy already. We're worthy because we're here. We wouldn't be here if we weren't. So
you're right. I mean, she's one of my favorites, but that pre-approved story that she tells, it was like a gut punch to me. I'm like, whoa, like how simple, but how huge to start viewing things as we're already pre-approved. We already have permission. We don't need anybody else to tell us.
That's right. That's right. So if y'all are interested in other stories, go out and get our book. We'd love for y'all to purchase our book and read the stories. And I guarantee you at least one of the stories in there will have some impact on you. Everybody's story is a little bit different and resonates with different people, but I found myself really identifying with several of them in the book. And it really is a great group of women and really good stories to make you think about where have you in your life given yourself permission or not giving yourself permission to do something.
Absolutely. So we'll put the link to purchase the book in the show notes if you're interested. It's on Amazon. So we'll put that in there for you guys.